People rarely notice the moment an INFJ stops paying attention to what people present and starts sensing what they're hiding. It's quiet, almost invisible, a shift that happens inside, not outside. One day, you begin catching the mismatch between someone's words and their energy. You feel the tension behind their smile, the hesitation beneath their confidence, the truth buried under their rehearsed stories. And without effort, without intention, you see straight through the mask they're trying to hold in place. Most people don't realize how unnerving that gift can be. They rely on appearance, charm, or confidence to shape how others see them, but none of that works on an INFJ. Your intuition doesn't stop at the surface. It scans deeper. It picks up on motives, inconsistencies, emotional pressure, and the story behind the story. And when someone realizes you can see who they are, not who they pretend to be, they get uncomfortable, exposed, sometimes even defensive. Because being understood that deeply is rare and not always welcome. This video will explore why INFJs carry this dark gift, why it protects you, why it isolates you, and why it becomes your greatest superpower once you learn to trust it. If you're an INFJ, this is the explanation you've always felt but never heard. So before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Brainy. We're building a space for deep thinkers, intuitive minds, and quiet observers who finally deserve to feel understood. And tell me in the comments, have you ever seen the truth about someone long before they revealed it? INFJs sense emotional truth before words even form. It happens in a way that even the INFJ can't fully explain, like an internal shift that catches the atmosphere before anyone speaks. Someone walks into the room and before their mouth opens, before they greet you, before they even decide what version of themselves they want to present, you already feel it. You sense the heaviness in their step, the hesitation in their breathing, the emotional pressure wrapped around their presence. It's not about analyzing, it's not about trying to figure anyone out. It's more like a quiet emotional radar that activates on its own, picking up the truth long before the person decides whether to hide it or share it. This sensitivity starts in small ways. A friend says, "I'm fine," but the INFJ has already felt the sadness they're trying to mask. A coworker smiles, but the INFJ senses the frustration simmering beneath it. Even strangers reveal themselves through the smallest clues, the stiffness of their posture, the way they avoid eye contact, the slight delay in their tone. Most people only notice what is obvious. INFJs sense what is unspoken and sometimes what is still forming inside the person. They feel the emotional intention before it becomes a sentence, the fear before it becomes a confession, the envy before it becomes an action. Moments like these can be overwhelming. Imagine standing in front of someone who hasn't said a single vulnerable word, yet you already know they're hurting. Or sensing that someone isn't safe, not because of what they did, but because their energy carries a warning your intuition refuses to ignore. This ability makes INFJs deeply empathetic, but also incredibly cautious. When you can feel emotional truth this early, you learn to trust your instincts even when nothing logical has happened yet. And the strange part, you're almost always right. But this gift comes with weight, because when you sense the truth before the other person admits it, you carry feelings that don't belong to you. You feel responsible for emotional tension you didn't create. You try to comfort people who haven't even asked for help yet. And worst of all, you sometimes care about people who were never honest with you to begin with. Still, this ability is what makes INFJs powerful. They don't wait for masks to fall. They don't wait for people to reveal themselves. They feel the truth first, and that truth shapes every connection they make. Tiny inconsistencies in someone's behavior reveal the mask instantly. It can be the smallest detail, something so subtle that most people would never notice it, let alone question it. But for an INFJ, a single crack in someone's behavior is enough to expose everything they're trying to hide. Maybe their tone is warm, but their eyes shift too quickly. Maybe their words sound confident, but their shoulders tighten for half a second. Maybe they laugh at the right moment, but the emotion behind it doesn't match the story. These micro inconsistencies, invisible to almost everyone else, hit the INFJ like a spark in the dark, and suddenly the whole mask becomes transparent. It happens in real time. A person tries to appear calm, but their breathing betrays anxiety. They act friendly, but their energy feels sharp around the edges. They give a compliment, but their voice carries a hint of competition. And while others take things at face value, the INFJ instantly feels the disconnect, the subtle contradiction between what someone wants to show and who they really are underneath. It's not suspicion, it's not judgment, it's simply pattern recognition on a deeper emotional level that operates long before the conscious mind catches up. For the INFJ, these inconsistencies don't feel small at all. They feel like warning signals. They reveal intentions that haven't been spoken, emotions that someone is pretending not to feel, or motives that a person is trying to disguise. And the strangest part? The INFJ never tries to look for these things. The truth simply pushes through. It's like watching a picture glitch for a split second, long enough for the INFJ to glimpse what's behind the image. This ability often makes INFJs appear distant or hard to fool. They might stay quiet, observing someone who thinks they're putting on a perfect performance, but inside, the INFJ already knows something is off. They've already felt the shift, the fracture, the emotional mismatch, and while the other person continues the act, the INFJ is already adjusting, stepping back, protecting themselves, or preparing for the truth to reveal itself fully. Tiny behavioral cracks don't stay tiny for an INFJ. They expand, they form patterns, they confirm intuitions. And once the mask slips, even slightly, the INFJ can't unsee it. They may not call it out, but their perception changes instantly because even the smallest inconsistency is enough to reveal the real person behind the act. INFJs absorb the energy of a person, not their performance. This is where the INFJ's perception becomes something deeper than observation. It becomes resonance. When someone steps into their space, the INFJ doesn't react to the smile, the confidence, the posture, or the carefully crafted persona. They react to the energy underneath it, the emotional current a person carries with them, even when they're trying to hide it. And long before the conversation starts, the INFJ already feels the truth of who they're dealing with, not through logic, but through a quiet internal shift that tells them everything they need to know. Someone can walk in acting cheerful, but if their energy is heavy, the INFJ feels the weight before the person even speaks. Someone can appear confident, but if there's insecurity tucked behind their eyes, the INFJ senses the tremor like a vibration in the air. A charming person might joke, laugh, and fill the room with noise, but if there's emptiness behind that performance, the INFJ absorbs the hollowness, not the humor. It's a kind of emotional echo. The INFJ doesn't just hear what someone presents, they feel what someone carries. This sensitivity can be both beautiful and exhausting, because where others simply listen to words, the INFJ ends up absorbing the full emotional atmosphere surrounding a person. Their hidden stress, their unspoken longing, their unresolved anger, their quiet sadness. Sometimes it hits like a wave, sometimes it feels like stepping into a room and instantly inheriting someone else's emotional history. And often, the INFJ knows more about someone's internal state than that person knows about themselves. It's why INFJs rarely fall for fake confidence or performative kindness. They can sense when someone is acting out of insecurity, manipulation, neediness, or even desperation. The performance might be flawless, but the energy underneath tells the real story. And the INFJ reads that story instantly, silently, without the person ever noticing their mask didn't work. But this gift has a cost. Absorbing energy means carrying weight that isn't yours. It means feeling drained around chaotic people, unsettled around deceptive ones, and deeply connected to those who are genuine, even in their brokenness. It means forming bonds based on emotional truth rather than appearance. INFJs don't react to how someone acts, they react to who someone is, and once they feel your real energy, no performance in the world can overread it. Their intuition detects hidden motives long before they appear. For an INFJ, intuition isn't a guess, it's a quiet certainty that forms before logic even wakes up. Long before someone shows their true intentions, the INFJ has already felt the shift in their energy, the subtle change in their behavior, and the deeper motive hiding behind their words. It might be a person who suddenly becomes overly friendly, a coworker who asks too many casual questions, or a friend whose smile feels just a little too forced. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious, but to the INFJ, something in the atmosphere moves, and that's enough to trigger the inner alarm. What makes this so powerful is that INFJs don't need evidence to feel the truth. They sense patterns long before they become actions. They feel the emotional trajectory before it becomes a choice. Someone might pretend they have pure intentions, but the INFJ picks up on the subtle hunger beneath their kindness. Whether it's admiration, competition, jealousy, or manipulation, they feel when someone is trying to get close for the wrong reason. They sense when the praise is strategic. They detect the shift when someone's interest is no longer genuine. Even if the motive is still forming inside the person, the INFJ catches the earliest signs of it. This creates moments that feel almost eerie. The INFJ will suddenly become distant from someone who seemed harmless to everyone else, only for the person's true motives to reveal themselves weeks or months later. Friends might call it coincidence. The INFJ knows it wasn't. It was intuition doing what it always does, reading the emotional blueprint hidden beneath the surface. But this gift can also feel heavy. Knowing the truth too early means carrying warnings that no one else sees yet. It means being misunderstood for pulling away from someone others find perfectly nice. It means sensing danger in a smile and dishonesty in a compliment. And most of all, it means having to trust an inner voice that doesn't always provide explanations, just certainty. Still, this ability protects INFJs in ways they rarely get credit for. Their intuition isn't paranoia, it's foresight, it's pattern recognition, it's emotional intelligence working at a depth most people never reach. And when motives finally reveal themselves, the INFJ is never surprised because they saw the truth long before it arrived. INFJs read micro expressions and tone shifts without trying. It happens in a fraction of a second, a small flicker in someone's eyes, a half-second hesitation, a tiny curl at the corner of the mouth that disappears before most people even register it. But for an INFJ, that split-second expression is as loud as a full confession. They catch the brief moment when someone's smile fades before returning. They notice the sharpness in a tone that wasn't there yesterday. They hear the strain under a joke, the bitterness beneath a compliment, the sadness hiding inside a casual, "I'm okay." These micro signals, invisible to almost everyone else, come through to the INFJ as clearly as if someone turned up the emotional volume. What makes it even more powerful is that INFJs aren't trying to read people. They're not analyzing, decoding, or searching for meaning. Their mind simply absorbs these small human glitches automatically. A friend says they're not upset, but their voice tightens half a note. The INFJ feels it instantly. A coworker says they're happy to help, but their jaw tenses for just a moment. The INFJ hears the reluctance behind the words. Even strangers reveal entire emotional histories through tiny facial movements, and the INFJ picks it up before they even realize they were watching. This creates a strange experience. For the INFJ, they often know what someone feels long before that person is ready to admit it. They sense when someone is hiding disappointment. They feel when someone is angry but pretending to stay calm. They catch jealousy wrapped in politeness or insecurity dressed up as confidence. It's not that the INFJ exposes people, it's simply that people reveal themselves in ways they don't even notice. But this gift also becomes heavy. Imagine trying to have a simple conversation while feeling every emotional shift the other person thinks they hid. Imagine knowing when someone's words aren't real, even when they're smiling. Imagine hearing the pain someone refuses to speak and carrying it quietly because they're not ready to share it. The INFJ often walks away from interactions feeling emotionally full, not with their own emotions, but with the ones they absorb. Still, this ability is what makes INFJs extraordinary listeners and deeply intuitive companions. They notice the things that matter, the feelings that go unspoken, the moments that slip past everyone else. Because while most people hear what is said, INFJs hear everything that isn't. In the smallest expression, in the slightest tone, in the silence between the words. Their empathy acts like an internal lie detector. It's not the dramatic kind of lie detection people imagine. No suspicious staring, no analyzing every word, no playing detective. For an INFJ, it's something softer, deeper, and far more accurate. When someone lies, their emotional frequency shifts, their energy tightens, their intention wavers, and their words lose the emotional signature that real honesty carries. Most people never notice this change, but the INFJ feels it instantly. Their empathy doesn't listen to the sentence, it listens to the feeling behind it. And when the feeling doesn't match the words, something inside the INFJ goes quiet, alert, and unmistakably certain. Someone can lie with a perfect tone, a steady voice, and a convincing smile, but their emotional field flickers. The INFJ senses the hesitation they tried to hide. They feel the guilt that leaked out for half a second. They pick up on the fear behind the fake confidence or the bitterness behind a forced apology. Even the smallest emotional inconsistency is enough to signal that the truth is being bent, buried, or manipulated. It's not about catching people. It's not about exposing them. It's simply that empathy reveals the emotional truth automatically, the same way a mirror reflects light without trying. This gift creates moments that feel surreal. Someone might tell the INFJ exactly what they want to hear, but the INFJ's chest tightens in a way they can't explain. A friend might swear nothing is wrong, yet the INFJ feels a quiet sadness sitting just behind their words. A partner might say, "I'm over it," but the INFJ senses the unresolved hurt still pulsing beneath the surface. And when someone pretends to be trustworthy while carrying hidden motives, the INFJ feels a sharp emotional disconnect, a quiet knowing that something is off long before any proof appears. But this ability also makes the world complicated because when you can feel lies, you also feel the reasons behind them. You feel the fear driving them, the shame, the insecurity, the desperation. You understand why the person hid the truth, even when it hurts you, and that makes walking away harder than it should be. Still, this emotional lie detector is one of the INFJ's greatest defenses. It protects them from manipulation, from insincere people, from relationships built on shallow performances. And while they rarely confront someone outright, they always adjust silently, choosing distance, boundaries, or silence long before the lie unfolds. For the INFJ, truth is not about words. It's about emotional honesty, and their empathy feels it every time. INFJs see the wounded part of a person beneath the facade. It doesn't matter how polished someone's persona is, how confident they appear, or how carefully they hide their vulnerability. The INFJ's mind instinctively looks past the outer layer and lands on the part of a person they try hardest to protect. While others get distracted by charisma, status, or charm, the INFJ's attention slips through the cracks and connects with the wounded version of that person. They see the childhood fear behind the anger, the insecurity hiding under arrogance, the loneliness masked by humor, the exhaustion behind a smile that looks fine to everyone else. It's never about pity, it's never about judgment. It's simply a deep emotional vision that picks up what the surface refuses to show. A person might walk in acting strong, but the INFJ senses the fragility wrapped beneath their pride, like a trembling heartbeat hiding under a shield. Someone might joke about their struggles, but the INFJ catches the heaviness in their eyes that lingers a second too long. Even the most emotionally guarded person can't hide their inner wounds from an INFJ for long. They see the places where someone has been hurt, the parts of them that still ache, and the emotions they bury because they don't know how to express them. It's a kind of empathy that works like X-ray vision, revealing the human behind the performance. This ability makes INFJs incredibly compassionate. They don't get fooled by someone's harshness because they feel the pain beneath it. They don't get intimidated by someone's confidence because they sense the insecurity hiding behind it. And they don't walk away from people simply because they act cold. They understand that coldness is sometimes a shield built from years of disappointment or betrayal. INFJs often forgive more than they should, not because they're weak, but because they see the brokenness behind the behavior. But this gift carries a heavy cost. Seeing the wounded part of people means feeling responsible for it. It means carrying emotions that aren't yours. It means caring deeply for someone who isn't ready to heal. And sometimes it means staying longer than you should because you see potential in a person they haven't discovered yet. Still, this ability is what makes INFJs extraordinary. They don't just see who someone pretends to be, they see who they really are: the hurt, the hope, the potential, the truth behind the facade. And once they see that version of you, they never forget it, even if you never show it to anyone else. They can predict someone's next move through pattern recognition. To an INFJ, people don't just behave randomly, they leave trails, tiny patterns in their decisions, habits, reactions, and emotional rhythms that most people overlook completely. But the INFJ sees these patterns with almost unsettling clarity. They notice how someone withdraws when they're hiding something. They recognize the way a person over-explains when they feel guilty. They catch how someone becomes extra charming right before they ask for something. And the moment these patterns begin forming, the INFJ already knows where they're leading. Long before an action is taken, the INFJ can sense the direction of someone's behavior, like seeing the next scene of a movie before it plays. It starts subtly. A person repeats a certain emotional response, and the INFJ quietly files it away. They notice how someone changes their tone when they want attention, how they shift their body language when they're lying, how their choices follow the same emotional logic, even when the situation changes. Most people don't pay attention to these things, but to an INFJ, they create a psychological blueprint, and once that blueprint becomes clear, predicting the next move becomes effortless. This is why INFJs often feel like they're one step ahead in relationships, friendships, and even conflicts. They sense when someone is about to drift away long before the person realizes they're losing interest. They feel when a friend is about to betray a promise, even before the friend admits it to themselves. They know when someone is planning to come back, apologize, manipulate, or disappear. It's not magic, it's not mind reading, it's simply the INFJ's ability to connect emotional dots faster than most people can process their own intentions. But this gift isn't always easy to carry. Predicting someone's next move means feeling the disappointment before it happens. It means preparing for someone's actions while they're still pretending everything is fine. It means grieving relationships that haven't ended yet because the INFJ already felt the pattern changing. And sometimes it means watching someone repeat the same destructive behavior again and again, even when you prayed they'd choose differently. Still, this ability protects INFJs in profound ways. It helps them avoid manipulative people, set boundaries early, and stay emotionally balanced. It allows them to navigate situations with a quiet intelligence that others underestimate. And even though it can be painful at times, it's one of the INFJ's greatest strengths: the ability to see a person's trajectory before the person even takes the step. Because INFJs don't just observe behavior, they understand the pattern behind it. And once they see the pattern, the future becomes clear. Their insight creates distance because most people don't want to be seen. There's a quiet moment in many INFJ relationships where something shifts, not because of conflict, not because of words, but because the other person suddenly realizes just how deeply the INFJ understands them. At first, people love the empathy, the warmth, the safe space the INFJ provides. They enjoy being heard, supported, and emotionally understood in ways they've never experienced before. But eventually, something else happens. The INFJ starts seeing the parts they don't show anyone, the insecurity they hide, the jealousy they deny, the fear they pretend doesn't exist, the contradictions they don't want to confront. And that level of clarity, even when it's never spoken out loud, makes people pull back. Not because the INFJ did anything wrong, but because being seen so deeply feels terrifying. People crave connection until they realize connection means being exposed. The INFJ doesn't expose them, never judges them, and never weaponizes what they perceive, but the person feels naked anyway. They sense that the INFJ already understands their emotional patterns, their motives, their weaknesses, their lies, even the parts they weren't ready to admit, and instead of leaning into that understanding, many people choose distance. They avoid eye contact, they talk less, they change the way they act around the INFJ. Not because the INFJ saw something bad in them, but because the INFJ saw something true. This is why INFJs often feel a sudden emotional gap in relationships that once felt close. They'll notice someone pulling away with no explanation. They'll sense a person becoming uncomfortable without any conflict. They'll feel the shift long before the other person ever says a word. And deep down, they know exactly what happened. The insight became too real, too intimate, too honest. The person wanted connection, not self-awareness. They wanted comfort, not reflection. And this creates a quiet loneliness inside the INFJ, not the kind that comes from being alone, but the kind that comes from understanding people too deeply for them to stay. The INFJ never asks to see beneath the surface, it simply happens. But once they see someone's emotional truth, the relationship often changes. Some people draw closer, grateful to finally feel understood, but many step back, afraid of what the INFJ might see next. Still, this insight is not a flaw, it's the INFJ's emotional intelligence in its purest form. It filters out the people who aren't ready, and it draws in the ones who value authenticity. And while it creates distance for many, it creates unbreakable bonds for the few who are brave enough to stay. The dark INFJ gift becomes a shield, protecting them from manipulative or draining people. There comes a point in the INFJ's life where their intuition, their emotional sensitivity, and their ability to read people stop feeling like a burden and start becoming a shield. For years, they may have felt overwhelmed by absorbing too much, caring too deeply, or giving more than they received. But as the INFJ grows, something inside them shifts. The same gift that once made them vulnerable begins to protect them. They start noticing manipulative patterns before they unfold. They sense draining people long before the relationship becomes exhausting. They read emotional red flags in real time, not through fear, but through clarity. Manipulators depend on confusion. They depend on people ignoring their contradictions, believing their excuses, or falling for their charm. But INFJs notice everything: the emotional pressure behind a compliment, the hidden agenda inside a favor, the subtle tone that reveals irritation disguised as kindness. They feel the tightening energy a person gives off when their intentions aren't clean. They sense when someone wants control instead of connection. And because they feel it so early, they quietly pull back before the damage begins. No confrontation, no drama, just distance, chosen with wisdom, not fear. Draining people rely on emotional access. They want someone who listens endlessly, fixes their problems, or absorbs their chaos. And for years, INFJs may have played that role without realizing the cost, but once they learn to trust their dark gift, their ability to sense emotional imbalance instantly, they begin protecting their energy in a way they never did before. They don't wait to be exhausted. They don't wait to be used. They feel the drain coming, and they step away with calm certainty, not coldness, clarity. This protective shift feels like growing a new layer of emotional armor. The INFJ stops explaining themselves to people who misunderstand them. They stop giving access to people who drain them. They stop trying to save those who don't want to be saved. And they stop letting guilt pull them into relationships their intuition already flagged as unsafe. The dark INFJ gift becomes a boundary, a filter, a guardian. It protects their peace, their time, their heart, and their purpose. Because once an INFJ sees the truth behind people's masks, the manipulative, the draining, the unstable, nothing can make them unsee it. And nothing can make them stay where their soul knows they don't belong. In the end, this gift doesn't just help INFJs survive. It helps them choose the right people and walk away from the rest with quiet power. When you're an INFJ, seeing the truth behind people's masks is not something you choose, it's something you grow into. The more you understand yourself, the clearer everyone else becomes. And slowly, your intuition stops feeling scary and starts feeling like guidance. It shows you who deserves your time, who drains your energy, and who carries intentions that don't match their words. It teaches you how to protect your peace without apologizing for it. And most importantly, it reminds you that your sensitivity is not a weakness. It's a form of intelligence that most people will never experience. So if this video made you feel seen, understood, or finally validated, you're exactly where you need to be. Make sure to subscribe to Brainy One. We're building a community of deep thinkers who feel the world more intensely than they ever admit. And before you go, tell me in the comments, which part of this INFJ gift do you relate to the most?